Calling to order the meeting of the Arlington Select Board for Monday, May 4th, 2026. First, I will confirm that all members are present. If you can say your name, starting on my right.
Joseph Solomon.
Eric Helmuth.
Diane Mahan.
Steve DeCourcy.
James Feeney, Town Manager.
Michael Cunningham, Town Council.
Ashley Marr, Board Administrator.
Thank you. And that will take us to the first item on our agenda, fiscal year 2026, third quarter financial report. We have Ida Cody, our comptroller.
Good evening. Ida Cody, Town Comptroller. I'm here to present quarter 3 of the year-to-date budget report for the period ending March 31st, 2026. I'm going to keep it simple and tell you that the quarter 3 behaved itself. We're 3 quarters through the fiscal year, and the budget is tracking exactly how we want it to. The expenses are at 75%, and the revenues are already ahead of the schedule. On the revenue side, property taxes and state revenue are right at 75%, and everything else is almost fully collected, which means essentially that the quarter 4 collections will be a nice bonus to the free cash. Of course, this is partially by design. As you know from the long-range planning, we've been estimating revenues very conservatively, but we shifted to a more realistic projection, and we increased the revenues for fiscal year 27 to better align them with the actual collections. There will be, of course, a trade-off to this. There will be less explaining of good variances to do every quarter, and we'll have a smaller revenue surplus, which will close the gap between projected and actual, and leading, of course, to lower free cash starting in fiscal year 27. So looking at the revenue, the main drivers that push the results over the projections are motor vehicle excise collected 102%. We've actually collected most of the fiscal year 26 commitment, and we anticipate to have about $500,000 in surplus at the end of the fourth quarter. Other excise, which includes meals, hotel, and marijuana, they're collected 100% already. We've increased the projection next year by approximately $215,000. The meals are at 103%, and we expect to collect another 160 the next quarter. Hotel, quarter 3 was pretty low compared to quarter 1 and 2, so we only expect to get about $100,000 in the last quarter. And marijuana is at 40%, and this is not a timing issue. It's actually a true downward trend. Ambulance fees, 170%. We've already exceeded the projection by $388,000, but we did bump the projection next year to $900,000. Parking violations and the late fees associated with the parking violations exceeded by $130,000. We outsourced the parking violations to a collection agency, which they are the experts in municipal collection. And now not only do we get the revenue timely, but also the violations are marked at the registry so people cannot renew their licenses. Other drivers are the license and permits at 152%. This category has been consistently outperforming the projections, and we increased it by about $1 million next year. Building permits is at 130% collection, and the wires is at 359%. That's because we've had increased installation of solar panel and electric vehicle chargers. The federal government announced that they're going to stop the incentives, so there was a push to get to buy these purchases to get advantage of the clean energy rebates. Interest at 357% We still had some money in the bank from the high school and the ARPA, which will be depleted in the next quarter. Medicaid, which refers to special ed services, is at 118%. We lowered this projection this year because the past 2 years we missed the projection. The federal government rejected some expenses. They deemed them ineligible, so we reduced the projection, but we got the money. And finally, the transfers, they're at 100%. The transfers in are listed on the detailed revenue report on page 6. This is the last category of revenue under the transfers in / other financing sources. And this includes other financing sources that we use to balance the general fund budget. These financing sources are clearly labeled, each line item, one of them being the override stabilization. We actually show how much we transfer from the override stabilization to balance fiscal year 26 budget. And also, you can see there the indirect costs or the offsets from the water and sewer. In other capital projects, turnbacks, if you can call them turnbacks, we use funds that for the projects that that they were underspent to fund the current year capital projects. And moving on to the expenses, all departments are tracking at approximately 75% with slight variances due to timing and purchase orders. In the report, there is a column that's labeled available budget. That available budget represents the unencumbered and unexpended funds that will be turned back to the free cash at the end of the fiscal year. We call it in my office free and clear. This is free and clear money, and they go to the free cash. The DOR reviews our balance sheet, and they certify the free cash. So we will know how much we're turning back next quarter after we close the books. We're on the final stretch for the fiscal year, and we're assisting the departments with the final projections and so we are prepared in case we need to do any year-end transfers. And I will just mention 3 departments that jump out from the report. The facilities is at 87%, but they have encumbered $200,000. However, they did not, it looks high, not only does it look high, but it also didn't encumber all the expenses. So I'm expecting them to put through a significant amount of encumbrances. DPW is at 89%, but they encumbered $1.5 million. We think they will be okay. And the school department appears as if it's overspent, but they encumbered $37 million. And this is because they encumber all the salaries at the beginning of the fiscal year. This is a very manual process. As they process the payroll, they have to manually release the encumbrances. So there's always a timing issue, but variance. But we are in close communication with them, and we monitor it closely. Enterprise funds, water and sewer is at 75% on both revenue and expense. And the other 4 enterprise funds, because they're highly seasonable, they don't follow a linear spending or revenue collection. And we also have some additional charges that some of the expenses must be moved to various grants or other special revenue accounts. So those journal entries are still in review. Once we process them, they should be spent by 100% by the end of the fiscal year. So the burn rate is slightly distorted, but I'm not worried. It's just a timing issue. And all the other major funds, the balances are listed at the end of the report. This is all I have for you.
Thank you for the report. I'll turn to the board for any questions or motions. Mrs. Mahan?
Sorry. I want to thank Ms. Cody and the town manager, who I met with previously, believe it or not, to expedite all of my questions in terms of quarter 3, the quarter 3 reporting and moving forward. I do have 2 questions. when I met with you, Ms. Cody, you had pointed out, and I had page 37, but now I can't find it, on page 37. Where would I find the override fund reporting? It was at the bottom of what I had left your office with on page 37, but it's not on this.
So this is labeled page 6, on detailed revenue. Do you happen to have the PDF?
A couple of them are labeled page 6. Okay, so I'll ask you about, but
Yeah,
that's in here
it's the
somewhere, and I'm
category
missing-
49. It says transfers in/OFS, other financing source.
Okay. Maybe if going forward, like what we have here, like if I go to page 6, which is,
Page 6 of the revenue detail, it's the
Right.
fourth PDF, I believe.
yep, that's what I'm saying. Page
Okay.
6 in front of us is page 17 and what we have.
Okay.
So-
So if you look at the,
Have you found it?
So it'd be page
4970.
18 of the PDF.
Page 18 of the PDF, okay.
So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's a bit
Transfer
truncated.
from override, okay.
It's truncated because the report can only show so many characters,
Okay,
but it says transfer from override.
okay, all right. And then,
Try to abbreviate it as much as I could.
no, that's fine. Am I correct that, I don't see it on here, but maybe it's because because we just voted it and have to finish a town meeting. 17 Irving Street, will that go on, what I'm seeing is page 14? Trying to find that. Is 17 Irving somewhere in here and I just haven't seen it? Or will it go under what we have in Munis, under rentals that lists Academy Street and others?
Thank you, Mrs. Mahan, for the question. The 17 Irving Street is also known as the Parmenter School, so on page 14, it would be the first line of those rentals. So that's what exists now for the collection of their rent. What will, the revenue that would not be deposited in there, but that wouldn't start until the next fiscal year would be the capital contribution and the, I think just the capital contribution.
Okay. And I'll leave it up to you all, if the revolving fund's going to be 17 Irving, if the budget should list it as Parmenter or whatever. And then, just moving forward, I know there'll be a budget and long-range planning meeting probably after town meeting ends, and I've had conversations throughout the override, as well as after, with the chair of the school committee, Ms. Gittleson, and Mr. Thielman and others, to what I've been calling turnbacks. I've been saying we're putting the challenge out that other departments turn back more than the select board office does. So I'm going to leave it to our two designees on that. Moving forward, just in terms of the override promises and what we're doing, which is looking everywhere we can and trying to make do and be respectful of the money that we got in increased revenue. So with that, I'd like to move receipt and approval of the third quarter financial report.
Mr. Corsi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Cody, for the presentation. It all looks like good news through 3 quarters, and you had mentioned at least one area where you're anticipating a reserve fund transfer request, but just in terms of timing on that from other departments if necessary, is that typically expected the first half of June you'd get that, if there was such a request?
Yeah, we usually meet with the finance committee the first 2 weeks of June. I should have a good idea of where we stand and what we need by the end of May.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I had one other question, I'll make it quick. On the school budget, which I don't know as well, I see there's a $1.2 million sort of nebulous number out there. Could you give a brief explanation of that, or am I misreading what I see there? I see it's,
The deficit
yes,
of the
1.2 million.
Yeah, so we allow the school department to encumber all the salaries at the beginning of the fiscal year, because we want to make sure that we can pay the people. We don't run out of money. So they encumber it right away. when they pay the teachers, so this doesn't work like a regular accounts payable. The payroll is manual. So let's say they encumber, let's say, $20 million, and they paid $1 million, right? The cash went out the door, but someone needs to go in and manually release that $1 million from the encumbrance, because otherwise it's double counted, one as expended and one as a purchase order. So it's always a timing issue. This is going to be perfected towards the end of the fiscal year, because we work closely with the payroll department to make sure that they release the encumbrances in a timely fashion.
Okay,
Does it
so,
make sense?
so moving forward, I'm just thinking of all the blind carbon copy emails I get about budgets and what's put out and what's done. You know, when you look at this, it appears as though the school side needs 1.2 million, but that's not the case. But moving forward, can we get everything in line so that it doesn't have that appearance? Or is it going to be however they do their calculations and disbursements on the school side, it's going to look like they're overspending $1 million plus every year?
So the first 2 quarters, it will always look fine, because they don't have a lot of actual expenditures. But then as they incur a lot of expenditures through, let's say, through half of mid-year, then some of those payrolls will show in 2 columns for a short period of time. It could be for a day, and it depends on when I pull the report. Let's say $2 million shows unexpended and also an encumbrance. It's just a matter of the payroll going in and liquidating that encumbrance to release the funds to show available.
Okay, but I'll leave you, there's got to be a better, well, I understand the first 2
Yeah.
quarters, but not by quarter 3 and year end. But I'll let you all figure that out. All right, thank
They
you.
will not overspend. I'm watching closely.
Okay, sorry.
Ms. Helmuth?
Thank you. Excellent presentation. Just a quick question on the wire permit fees. That it's good news for a bad reason with the elimination of the federal subsidies for consumer solar and whatnot. But did that notice? Have we had enough time to incorporate that reduced expectation in the budget, in the operating budget moving forward? Because I could almost expect the bottom to drop out of that. The town manager, through the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Helmuth. So that is a category where we chose not to increase our revenue estimate so aggressively. Obviously, this was a bit of a boon, but it was a rush to get permits filed for solar installation projects, EV installation projects, really anything that required paperwork to be completed before December 31st of calendar year 2025. So additional revenue this year, which we didn't necessarily budget for, but we also are not going to base our revenue estimate for the coming fiscal year off of this particular collection. We're going to have to control for that.
Yeah, I guess, and thank you for that. And when we put in our budget estimate for that line item for the next year, is it lower than we've been planning on, anticipating that we might have fewer than the baseline?
So we just didn't increase it, and it
Oh,
was
that's right.
already modestly conservative, so,
That makes sense.
yeah.
We'll keep an eye on that. But all right, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I'm sleeping on my duties to relay questions in the meeting. What's up? All right, we have a motion to receive by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. Corsi. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. We have item number 2, minutes of meetings, April 27th, 2026. Item 3, acceptance of funds, Katie Lazai, Economic Development Coordinator. Item 4, request annual Greek Festival, June 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, 2026, for 4-day special 1-day beer and wine licenses and a one-way designation of Burton Street along with the closing of Acton Street. Item 5, request special 1-day beer and wine license, May 16th, 2026, at the Whittemore Robbins House for a private event. Item 6, special 1-day beer and wine license for May 9th, 2026, at Whittemore Robbins House for a private event. Item 7, request for a contractor drain layer license, Rescue Plumbing Services, Cameron Caffell, Westford, Mass. Item 8, 2026 outdoor dining renewal, Sidewalk Cafe Barismo, 171 Massachusetts Avenue. Item 9, request garage ban on Saturday, June 20th, 2026. Closure of a 75 feet of Wyman Terrace, Stuart Aketa, Arlington Commission on Arts and Culture, and Edward Blundell, ACMi Community Engagement Committee. I'll turn it to the boards for any questions, comments, motions.
Need
Mr.
to
Solomon.
abstain from voting on the minutes because I was absent, I believe?
No,
Or-
because,
Good, okay.
as long as you'd be voting that the minutes say that you were absent.
Okay. We're good then.
Mr. Helmuth? Okay. We have a motion to approve by Mr. Helmuth, seconded by Mr. Solomon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous vote. That brings us to licenses and permits. We have a change of category, wine malt to all alcohol license. Kafkas 2 Inc., DBA Pashka Turkish Mediterranean Cuisine, 669A Massachusetts Avenue. Do we have anyone? Oh, yeah, come on up. Good evening, and you can just introduce yourself and state your name for the record and just tell us a little bit about your application.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So you can introduce yourself, state your name for the record, and then just tell us what
My
you're
name
looking
is-
to do.
My name is Halit Kendemir. I'm owner and president of company.
Okay?
We are here to apply for the change category for the license.
Yep, and we have your documentation in front of us. This is a public hearing, so when we go to the public first, if there's anyone in the chamber that wishes to speak? Seeing none. If anyone on Zoom wishes to speak, use the raise hand function on your Zoom.
Seeing no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
That will close public comment. I'll turn to the board for any questions, comments, or motions. Mrs. Mahan?
I'd like to move approval of the change of category for the wine malt to an all-alcohol license, and was able to have a brief conversation with the gentleman here at the table before the meeting. And I know that I've heard good things about the establishment that you run, and appreciate that you're doing everything you can to make it as attractive as possible, and know all the time you and your employees, your family, and your employee family have to dedicate to keep this business successful in here in Arlington, and we're very thankful for that.
I
So
appreciate it.
I'd like to move approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion approved by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by
Second?
Mr. DeCoursey. Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you. All right, that takes us to traffic rules and order. For approval, safe routes to school final plan. We have Mr. Stubby here from our Transportation Advisory Committee. Chairman.
Hi, Jim Stubby, Transportation Advisory Committee Chair. I'm bringing the Safe Routes to School routes as proposed by MassDOT and modified by TAC to you all tonight to talk at a high level. I'm not going to run through every single route. There's a lot of detail there that we just don't need to talk through. So I wanted to run through what the process was and then pick one school and say, hey, here's some detail if you care. We can go there or not. It's sort of your call. So in the summer of 2025, MassDOT, principally with a little help from Arlington Public Schools, did a paper and partial driving around study that looked at population density of the schools, around the schools, and where they thought the routes should go based on everything they knew about them from GIS maps and everything else. But they didn't really have any institutional local knowledge. So they did the best they could. They provided us with maps, or provided to Arlington Public Schools. APS, I think, brought them to the select board, and somewhere late in the year, you all asked us to go actually put some miles on our shoes and take a look at the routes. So at the beginning of this year, in kind of midwinter, TAC was charged to kind of up and get ourselves out there and start walking, especially with all the snowstorms we had this year. So we put about 100 miles on in all of the different school districts. One of the biggest snowstorms was in the middle of that. So we got to see the school routes with piles of snow everywhere, which actually ended up being, just as an anecdote, a side thing for Hardy. They complained about the corners not being cleared, so I talked to our APD folks, and they went and talked to all the neighbors, and then when we were walking the routes later in the next snowstorm, the police officers were out there knocking on doors already, trying to make sure the kids had their right to the school. So it brought some good right away, even though we weren't quite done with the routes. So as I mentioned already, we had this is basically every hand on deck for TAC. We had 9 different working groups kind of wandering around town. We did somewhere over 100 miles. I didn't get an exact count. We assessed them in the way you think about streets as collectors, we assess the walking routes as collectors too. MassDOT had a lot of little spurs on their routes, and you couldn't go anywhere else anyway. Why did you draw this thing on the map? All it does is make it kind of heavy looking in the map layout. Otherwise, you could go overboard and have every street labeled as a walking route to school, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So any route or segment that TAC identified as either unsafe or there was a better way, we put it on the table and discussed in TAC and all of that. We looked at crash data, the school crossing signage was also assessed. I do want to mention just a little bit more about that, not for tonight's vote, but just so you all know it's going to be coming. I spoke with Mr. Feeney about this earlier. While we were out there walking, I asked them all to also look at all of the crossing signs because they're very sporadic and erratic by school. So we are continuing that discussion in TAC, and we'll provide a package to Mr. Feeney at some point that says, here's what we really like to see. The next time we have an opportunity with MassDOT or Safe Routes to School and there's money, we can get it for a grant, we can hit the ground running with a proposal that says, we need 200 signs, here's where we want to put them, this is why, and all of that. So we're intending to do that probably within the next couple of months. We don't have the pedal down like we did for this particular exercise. And I didn't mention it up front, but APS had requested that we get this done by right around now. So they'd have the routes available for May 15th for the new families coming into the schools, so they could hand out new maps, because the existing maps are from 2016, so they're a little on the old side. So basically today, I'm going to ask you to vote on the routes. And if we go to slide 3, just to give you an upper level view, that's not readable. I didn't intend it to be readable. None of these are very readable in these things. After you've copied and pasted and shrunk them and everything, they got a little unreadable. But I just wanted to show that's actually a GIS map that Scott Smith did for us. He put all the routes in and all the signs and everything else. So we can do a lot of different things with it. But that just gives you a sense of how far-flung the routes are across all of Arlington for our elementary schools. That's kind of why I included that. And I picked brackets, so if you go to slide 3, actually that is right, there we go, that one. Let's actually go to slide 13 first. I'll show you. Sorry, I didn't put them in the right order to do the talking order, sorry about that. I wanted to jump just to the MassDOT one, and that's the next one, yep. All right, so those are the MassDOT, the stuff behind it without the annotations and the circles. They had the bright green lines on it. It's like somebody hand drew their highlighter on the maps and sent them to us, which is fine, it worked fine. But what TAC did was, if we walk around this map, so this is for bracket, you start in the upper left, Robbins Road was coming up. They had the kids crossing Gray Street where there's no crosswalk, and a block away there's an RFB. Okay, so let's move it over a block and send the kids up, and we're done. The next one, Menotomy, there's no crosswalk, so we sent them, I think, a block the other way. Mount Vernon, they sent them right up into a wall or a place where there's with stairs onto the field, in the middle of the winter, that's not going to work. So we kind of rerouted them. And the bottom right there, that one's actually the most problematic one. We actually just took the route out because once you get over past Jason Street, that little interchange at the bottom of Jason Street and Frontage Road, you don't really want to be sending kids across that. It's awful. There's no sidewalks. There's people are commuting through there constantly. They're supposed to stop. They don't necessarily stop. So we just said, you know what? I think I actually talked to the assistant principal at Brackett, and he said, I don't let my kids walk there. So I took that to heart and said, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. In good weather, you can walk through the park, but otherwise, we just kind of took it off the map. So that's the kind of changes we did, and then we get back to the slide, the prior slide with Brackett on 5, I think, right? Yeah, 5. And it just sort of straightened it out a little bit. We took off the spurs, we changed the routes, and we went through each one of these intact, in detail with the whole committee a couple of different times. So we've actually spent a fair amount of time thinking and looking and asking questions and all of that. But so with that, I'll kind of shut up. That's kind of where we're at. I don't, unless you really want me to go through any more detail or any more of the schools, I'm more than happy to do that, but I didn't plan to chew up a lot of your time to make that happen. I didn't think it was necessary. They're self-evident, I think, when we go through.
We'll see how the questions go.
Right.
Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. I just wanted to extend my thanks, not only to Mr. Stubby, but to everyone on TAC. The amount of work they did on this is really being understated here. I know you mentioned a number of conversations that we had. Without TAC pounding the pavement, if you will, on this, it wouldn't have got done in the time frame in the absence of our transportation planner. So I know we only update these safe routes to school periodically, but they did it the right way. They did it methodically, and they did it by experiencing the routes, right? It could have been a much lighter lift to simply do it on paper or to try to navigate the routes via Google Street View, for example, but really the best way to do it is to get out there on the streets, and they were willing to sort of put those miles on. And at the same time, as Mr. Stubby mentioned, we had discussed making it a sort of productive, forward-looking exercise to use the opportunity of being out there, not necessarily just to redefine the routes, but to identify any potential deficiencies along those routes so that we would be well armed with a proposal that we could submit on a moment's notice should Mass DOT stand up something for the Safe Routes to School program. We'll know, a number of crossings that we may want to paint, new signage we want to put in. We'll be prepared to have prioritized areas to submit for potential consideration for future grants instead of waiting for a grant opportunity to be announced and then going, I wonder what might work there. We'll be ready to go to have a submission based on the detailed level of work that they did. So my thanks.
Turn to the board.
Motion approval, but a couple of years ago, we did a survey at Dallin just to sort of show how important getting this right is. And I know some of us drive to Dallin, some of us walk to Dallin. 70% of the school kids walk there. So if you think about that town-wide, when we get something like this right and we set ourselves up to then improve upon it in the right areas where we know people are, it's not hitting a small fraction of the school-age population. This is a big thing to get right.
And Dallin did a great job with their arrival dismissal. They were by far and away better than anyone else. We talked with their assistant principal. She hadn't looked at all the routes, but she walked us through the things she still wanted to do with arrival and dismissal. So I took a few notes. I'll have to talk to APD about that.
Most of the parents.
It's like, while you're here, we'd like to talk to you about this. It's like, okay.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Mr. Helmuth?
Second, and a question. First of all, thank you. I think we owe you all new pairs of shoes for all that walking. Really, it's incredible service to the town. To what extent, I know like in my neighborhood around Brackett, there's a lot of the streets are private ways, including some of those on the safe routes. To what extent do you consider that the condition or even the existence of sidewalks because they're optional on private ways and funded by the
There's no black and white answer to that question, but we did look to make sure we felt there was sufficient width to the road, even with the snow around, for children to walk safely.
Yeah.
So if there wasn't, we tried to route them somewhere else. Like at Dallin, we took off Wollaston. There was part of Wollaston where there's a big hole in the road. I mean, it's giant. Takes cars, tires away. It's like, I wasn't going to send kids over there. Going, that's private, and it's dirt, and it's park pavement. So that was when we went, there was another one very close to that was can this get any more narrow? You know, I don't know how the car's gonna go on here and a child at the same time. So we took that one out at Dallin as well. So we did consider that. If they were in good shape, if they're well paved and there was enough room. We do have a lot of streets at Stratton especially too. There's a lot of places with no sidewalks, you know. So that's life. That's what we got right now. So we do the best we can, and then if we get opportunities, you know, they have the Safe Routes to School work up at Stratton, that'll take care of part of it, but not all of it. So anytime we get the opportunity, if we're ready with information and details, it seems to work pretty well when you go back at people and go, hey, we actually have thought this through, right?
Great, thank you.
Mr. Corsi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Stubby. I'm really impressed at the level of detail here, because I live in the Hardy District, and I see the work you did there, but I'm seeing things, notations that you're making around Dallin, that there were notations that the three-season path, if you will, from Dow into the park, and that's a major obstacle, at least one out of 4 seasons, and you recognize that, and you're absolutely right on the Wallaston Ave. That would be a very challenging area. So thank you for this detail, and it certainly look forward to future Safe Routes programs as we move forward and having this ready.
And thank you for the effort. The one comment, I only have about 2 months of going to Dallin left, so while it's fresh on my mind, one of the things that I noticed, and I don't think it doesn't have to be done as part of the Safe Routes project, but you know, I do see, and it kind of goes along with the sidewalk comment, that you know we have Renfrew that runs into Dallin, and I don't know if this was noticed, but I do get comments from time to time when I'm there, is that the sidewalk on Renfrew is on the opposite side of the crosswalk. And, you know, it would make, at least in my mind, more sense to move the crosswalk to the sidewalk side, because where the crosswalk is, on the opposite side, there's another crosswalk on that block too. So if someone's coming down Waverly, they're gonna take that crosswalk. So, you know, some people crosswalk, most people, especially with the new drop-off and pickup procedure where they shut down a little portion, it did, you know, would strike me that to make more sense to have the crosswalk on the side that the sidewalk's on. And again, that takes some engineering and, you know, a fair amount of work. So it's not something that can be done as part of this approval, but just something, you know, to notice and kind of.
We actually had probably from half the team asking if we could restrict the safe route to one side of the street or the other, and we kind of went, we're going to be lucky if they follow the route, never mind which side they walk, and they're going to walk on whatever side they want. So we said no, but I absolutely get that idea, because I did bracket first, and I'm going, well, I really want them on that side. That's much safer, you know, cross down here and then walk on the other side, and, you know, but you know they're not going to do that. If they come up one of the side streets, that's where they're going to cross. And
Maybe we can install a yellow brick road or something.
yeah, follow the yellow brick
Well, it's
road,
also
right?
just an area that's kind of, with the drop-off procedures, a little chaotic with people coming down. And the Dallin School seems like every now and then needs a little bit of enforcement, because it's good with the parking restrictions, and then slowly
If you do
people
get
start
comments like
parking.
that, though, if people put in the roadway safety request form,
Yep.
and it gets handled separately, and we can actually shunt it through and say, you know what, they're kind of right, let's move it.
Yeah.
The next time we scrub the lines or go to repaint, put it where it belongs, or where it should be.
Well,
Most of those, it doesn't
I'll
matter,
just
you know, in
throw
the
that
long
out
run, if
there,
we pick
because,
something, so.
like I said, in a couple months, I won't be spending too much more time down Dallin, so
Right.
just something to know. But other than that, just again, I think when I was on TAC way back, before I was on the select board, I was tasked with a safe routes project. I think it was in Dallin, but it was before I ever lived in that area. And I remember I just kind of walked around, but didn't have quite the detail that is in this report. So we do appreciate all the work that
Yeah, we set a
everyone put into it.
lot of fences around the team before I sent them out, actually.
So, all right, so I have a motion to approve by Mr. Solomon, seconded by Mr. Helmuth. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Take care.
All right, that takes us to correspondence received. We have a request for no parking anytime signs on Forest Street by Ann Leroyer. Mr. Helmuth?
I think I'll move approval. I worked with Ms. Leroy on getting this requested in the pipeline, and just want to pass along that she said that she understands that tonight we're just doing the referral, but is happy to meet with town manager or TAC or us at any point to further discuss it.
Okay.
Second.
All right. In motion to receive.
I'm sorry, yes. Motion to refer to the town manager.
Yep. All right, we have a motion to refer by Mr. Helmuth, seconded by Mrs. Mahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous vote. New business. Ms.
No business, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Attorney Cunningham.
No new business, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Stefani.
No new business.
Mr. DeCoursey.
No new business.
Mrs. Mahan.
Just briefly, Town Council Attorney Cunningham joined in on a Zoom call with the attorney and others from the Conservation Law Foundation and members of Save the Alewife Brook. Conservation Law Foundation, as we know, is really the only group that has legal standing with the Clean Water Act, Charles River judgment. And I anticipate at future meetings, we'll be getting updates from Town Council. I want to thank him, and I want to thank the town manager for remaining vigilant on this issue, and that's it, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Sullivan.
No new business.
Mr. Helmuth.
No new business.
I have no new business.
Move to adjourn and reconvene at 8 PM at town meeting.
We have a motion to adjourn, motion to adjourn by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. DeCoursey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.